Welcome to this deep dive. Today, we're looking at a landmark 2026 Supreme Court judgment, Dr. Jaya Thakur versus Government of India.
Yeah, and before we jump into the constitutional law of it all, we really need to start with the human reality at the center of this case.
Right.
Because this entire legal battle is rooted in a crisis called period poverty.
Period poverty, yeah.
Exactly. I mean, we're talking about the tragic everyday reality where thousands of adolescent girls are just forced to drop out of school.
Simply because they don't have access to sanitary pads or functional separate toilets.
Right. It turns a totally natural biological function into this massive life-altering roadblock for their education.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because it's one thing to recognize period poverty as a severe social problem,
Yeah.
But the petitioner here took a completely different route to address it.
She did, and honestly, her strategy was brilliant. Instead of treating this as a charity issue or slowly working her way up through the lower courts over years, she filed a public interest litigation, a PIL, directly with the Supreme Court under Article 32.
Wow, straight to the top.
Yeah, and you can only bypass the lower courts like that when a fundamental constitutional right is being violated.
So she forced the highest court to look at menstrual hygiene not as some policy favor, but as a basic human right.
Exactly.
And the court's reasoning is where this gets really powerful. How did they justify making this a constitutional mandate?
Well, what's fascinating here is how they looked at Article 14, the right to equality. Usually we think of equality as treating everyone exactly the same.
A level playing field.
But the court leaned into a concept called substantive equality. If you have a menstruating girl and a non-menstruating boy, and you treat them identically by not providing pads to either of them...
That's not true equality.
Exactly, because their biological realities are completely different. Substantive equality actually requires affirmative action. It means giving the disadvantaged group exactly what they need to stand on equal footing.
That makes perfect sense when you frame it around biology. But I know the court also tied this into Article 21, the right to life. How does school hygiene escalate to a right to life issue?
It connects back to a famous Supreme Court ruling called the Puttaswamy precedent.
Ah, the privacy case.
Yes. That past ruling essentially established that privacy and dignity are core parts of your right to life. The court applied that here, stating that if a girl is forced to manage her period at school without privacy or basic hygiene, it strips her of her bodily autonomy and dignity.
So menstrual health becomes legally recognized as a right to life issue.
Precisely.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. They didn't just stop at the right to life. They completely redefined how we look at the Right to Education Act.
They really did. They looked at Section 3 of the RTE Act, which guarantees free education. The court said free doesn't just mean skipping tuition fees.
It means removing all financial barriers.
Exactly. If a girl has to buy pads just to physically attend class and she drops out because she can't afford them, that pad is a financial barrier to her education.
Meaning the state must legally cover that cost.
Yes. And on top of that, under Section 19, schools are required to provide barrier-free access, which the court ruled now strictly mandates functional, separate toilets.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Because a ruling is great on paper, but how does the court actually make sure schools follow through?
That's where the real teeth of this judgment lie. The court used a legal mechanism called continuing mandamus.
Continuing mandamus, meaning they keep it open.
Basically, yes. They aren't just handing down a verdict and walking away trusting the government to fix it. They are keeping the case open to actively monitor compliance.
Wow. And they ordered that schools must provide free sanitary pads, and specifically oxo-biodegradable ones, right?
It did, meaning the court was actually thinking ahead to the environmental impact of millions of disposable pads.
And they put a system in place to check up on them. District education officers are now legally on the hook to conduct annual inspections of these school bathrooms.
Yes. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's a monumental shift.
For you, the everyday citizen, it means you can legally demand these facilities in your local public schools.
Right, it's a fundamental right. And for the legal world, it marks a shift from negative restraint, just telling the government what not to do, to positive obligation.
The state is now legally forced to prioritize biological equity.
And they can no longer use a lack of funding as an excuse.
The Supreme Court actually opened this judgment with an incredibly powerful line. A period should end a sentence, not a girl's education.
It really is powerful, and it leaves us with a really important question to consider.
What's that?
If the Supreme Court must now actively monitor local school bathrooms just to enforce the Constitution, What other overlooked biological needs might soon redefine our fundamental human rights?